Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with a former world champion Terran in the blue. It's Micro Jackson, ByuN, facing off against the current world champion Terran. The Protoss in the red, we have Clem. In a best of 5 Terran versus Protoss showdown. And whether you're a fan of the original top tier Terran series or you like the next generation a bit more, it'd be awesome if you could start by smashing that like button. And maybe even subscribe. Help me count the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Yes, he's proxy rexing, of course. 1,644 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than Clem's as he's up against the most dastardly, devious, disgusting, dirty, and decisive cheese that Terrans can start with. I'm sure Clem, more than anyone else, knows how dangerous this could be. And as a Protoss player now, well, we should have a clinic on how to respond to it. The Nexus is on the way, which is ambitious to say the least. He's put the second pound on the high ground in order to make sure it's not vulnerable. Clem, realizing there's no second gas, that cancels the Nexus to start things off and slaps down a shield battery. Taking this incredibly seriously as the first Marauder and an SCV brought some gold minerals, a bit of extra bling up to the high ground as the bunker begins. The Stalker's not quite done. The Marauder's wailing on the pylon. Probes are pulled off the line. Second SCV comes up. And every second and every attack counts. It can come down to a single projectile from either one of these units to decide the entire game in the first 3 minutes. Shield battery complete. Second Marauder coming up. There's no way to heal these Marauders for a long time yet. And it appears Clem has shut this down before it even started. Second shield battery will secure it. He may even cancel that at the end of the day. But again, you cannot underestimate the capability of Marauders to ruin your day. I feel like Clem's estimation is probably going to be pretty on point, though. ByuN just pulls back entirely. Clem has 2 shield batteries on the high ground. He's doing a 2-gate robo expand, which is a build almost half as old as him. This was the Wings of Liberty style of expanding his Protoss. 2-gate robo was worked out to be kind of the macro play, because Terrans would just do a bunch of one-base bio all-ins. So, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And ByuN, well, he's nothing if not consistent. Robotics facility going to be completing, Clem. Now, does he go for a warp prism first to try to get some counter damage, maybe ghetto blink stalkers? He knows there's not going to be a yes. Clem gonna lay on the counter aggression technically. And it sounds a little ridiculous, but remember, this is Clem. You can dodge every single shot the Marauders fire. Okay, any projectile can be dodged with things like the Warp Prism or the Medevac, as Clem and ByuN have shown to dramatic extents in the past. So just because he doesn't have the blank upgrade doesn't mean he doesn't have its effectiveness. And now there's 6 Stalkers and a Sentry against 5 Marauders. Bunker will be completed, making things a lot more difficult. Unfortunately, the Protoss can't steal the tech labs. They lost the ability to appropriate technological knowledge a long time ago, which is a little depressing, actually. But that first Marauder sent out blood for the blood gods. Wait a second, that's not. Probe working on the supply depot. Bunker is done. But of course, with the Warp Prism, and the Sentry has a lot of energy as well. He's just going to go straight for the bunker. He can force field it. Slaps a force field, but the repairs are enough. He tries to push him away. It's still not really working. Oh, my. Big job, huh? Wow. The SCVs. Hazard pay, notwithstanding, able to... Wow, that... Clem's severely overestimating the effectiveness of those force fields. Kind of uses all the Sentry energy without getting a lot for it. And with a siege tank on the high ground, I believe ByuN has defended with quite a shoestring budget, as the ByuNker is more than enough. A 3rd command center is already completed. Things need to be done by Clem here. He has to realize with 3 command centers, ByuN is going to have a booming economy compared to Clem, who just finished his 2nd Nexus. which is certainly not the ideal place to be at this stage of the game. That siege tank on the high ground continually making life difficult, but Clem loads up into the prism. The 4-stalker prism, a classic tactic, but again, a siege tank in position to zone it out. And that probe has successfully dismantled the supply depot, which actually supply blocked ByuN, amusingly so. And wow, getting supply blocked at this time is pretty meaningful, considering this is exactly what he wants to build up to potentially a big attack. He doesn't have a starport on the way. He's intending on doing a siege tank Marine Marauder timing. And he might be vetoing that idea outright, as the supply block will slow him down, and Clem is clearly keeping very, very close tabs on him. Those tech labs out there, Clem, thinking about a third base. But it appears both these players are going to have to fight metaphorically, tooth and nail, in order to grab each and every one of their bases. Marauders dueling with the Stalkers. Stalkers picking off an SCV, dodging the Marauder shots. Another SCV comes off the line. Probe still in position to scout out. 2 observers on the field now, keeping tabs on ByuN. He actually scanned earlier. I don't know if he was looking for observers or just trying to keep tabs on the army. But now we have stim completed. +1. Combat shield in production. Clem still standing right on his front lawn, waiting for an opportunity to break down the door, but so far ByuN has not afforded him it. Stims a few Marines to make sure he takes out the observer. Kind of surprised he hasn't sent anything out to deal with the tech lab, but Clem chooses a Templar Archives as his first form of major splash damage. And that's a bold one, as a Templar Archives is a further reach than the robotics bay for Colossi. But it can pay off much more dramatically, because siege tanks, well, when you have a warp prism, you can maneuver the Templar quite easily, especially against someone who's very lackey on starport units, because I think ByuN, well, one, if it wasn't going to be a Marauder timing, it was going to be a more Marauder timing. And now, begrudgingly, he's building medevacs, which he's comfortable with for sure, but at the same time, clearly he wanted to hit an earlier timing here, and Clem did not let that happen. And here comes Clem with his own timing, charging in. Combat shield is completed, very importantly for those Marines against the charge lots, especially after stimming. Guardian shield will box out the rest. Storm is on the way. Blink. Charge was the first choice out of Clem, meaning Blink is still a long way off. No easy way to maneuver those Stalkers, but much easier to get those charge lots into trouble one way or another. Zoning missile turret. Supply depots. I don't think this is just throwing them back there. I think this is actually something to make it difficult for the charge lots. Putting kind of a semi-wall off behind your mineral line can help funnel them later on in the game. But also, he needed to get on supply block. So, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Ghost Academy, Armory, Whittle Mine, 2nd Engineering Bay. We're going. Kicking and screaming. Again, metaphorically, to a macro game. How does this happen? How is there a Zealot on the Reaper Cliff? The only scenario is he dropped it out with a prism or warped it in there. I almost want to go back, but I choose to believe somehow the Zealot... Bob! How in the... Oh, sweet Tassadar, Bob. You know what? That's a scouting Zealot now. That is the... Oh, Zealot of the Cliff, what is your wisdoms? Well, he'll leave us on a cliffhanger. This is a hero move right there. Maybe Clem just trying to embrace it. Hey! Hey! Need a Templar up there with him. Well, the army's spotted. ByuN sees the Zealot on the cliff. I feel like that is worthy of note. Doubt he's going to say anything at this point, but he saves it. I feel like he should have just left it there. I want Clem to leave one high Templar on the Reaper Cliff. Try to turn the tables on that one. Robotics Bay is on the way as we fill in the second major flavor of splash damage and spice things up. Meanwhile, Ghosts, Vikings in production. ByuN putting all the pieces together to deal with all this. But for everyone but the Protoss in the red is Terran. It is a difficult endeavor. I'm not saying it's easy for Clem, but he's the one who makes it look significantly easier dealing with this advanced Protoss army. But Ghost, of course, an existential threat to everything with a shield or an energy bar, or is biological, or Blizzard's bottom line. Meanwhile, though, the charge lock count is growing. Gateway count at 8, which is actually kind of low considering Clem is now working on 5 bases. Wouldn't be surprised if he adds on a few more gates soon, just like he added that second robotics facility. Both players about to max out. A lot of vision from the observers, keeping tabs on everything. He knows the map is dark and full of Terrans. And Clem gonna use that to great effect. Jumps the army. Storms hit more zealots than they do Marines and Marauders. The storms misfiring all over the place. Oh, mutually assured destruction, but did it need to be? Clem just whipping the storms all over, and the zealots paying the price, I think. Yes, ByuN gets pushed back up the ramp, but he didn't lose any meaningful amount of units here. 1 Ghost, a few Marines and Marauders, but a lot of those zealots permanently damaged. They're gonna dive right into the fray, coming around the corner. Feedback, great storm on the Marauders. And that softens up more than enough of them. Huge EMP hits the rest of the Templar. Colossus gets knocked down. Vikings coated in storm as well. A devastating fight for both sides. Both players losing a huge amount of their key units. This time around, they both land blows, but I think it evens out yet again. As Clem is sitting on 5 bases, 80 probes. But he just lost a whole bunch of his Templar, as well as his Colossi. Well, maybe not so many of his Templar, just getting him wiped out by EMP, but he's building 2 Colossi at a time. Meanwhile, ByuN has finished the 2-2 upgrades and is working on +3 attack, which means he will likely have an advantage for at least a while yet. Clem double expanding, almost nailing the perfect location to build that Nexus as well. The charge lock count, 32. 32. Half of his army, over half of his army is in charge lots. But, I mean, difficult to deal with. Kind of surprised he's not splitting any off to go for the counterattack, but wants to make sure he has the critical mass to force the Terran army back. Because, if you reach a certain amount of Ghost Marines and Marauders, no amount of melee units can contest you. Especially not without splash damage. EMP lands on the Templar, the Vikings striding through the storm. Historically dangerous, but practically effective. Stalkers pick off another one. A single Colossus on the high ground. Probably the only thing giving ByuN pause here. A whole lot in production for either side. More gateways, a Shrine to Dark as well. Meanwhile, 4 Vikings and 5 Marauders at a time alongside the 3-3 upgrades and +2 ship weapons. Both players jockeying for position, kind of shoving each other out of the center. So far, Clem has been able to keep better control of it. But ByuN, on the high ground, you cannot underestimate his power. A fusion core is on the way as we head to the late game. Very likely, advanced ballistics, caduceus reactor. I would eat a chocolate shoe. Medium-sized one at that, if it's for battle cruisers, but we'll see. Meanwhile, Clem, so many zealots. Colossi gonna get knocked down. Good position for the Vikings. EMP on the Templar, and these zealots are just gonna evaporate under the overwhelming firepower of the Marines and Marauders. Clem drops 30 supply. ByuN is maxed out with more command centers in production. The Marauders trundling across the map. Is there any splash damage? 3 high Templar. Energy recharge has been used. The Templar making their way down from the northern base, but the Bio army is just standing its ground, realizing his advantage. That critical mass of Bio has been reached. He spots the Templar, but they're gliding forward with purpose, but not speed. There's a reason why the War Prism is usually used to chauffeur them around. Infantry weapons level 3 completed. ByuN, now with the largest upgrade advantage, momentarily is about to get 3-3 will be done against 2-2. Clem is catching up. He's about a minute off of +1 and minute and a half. +3 attack. And a minute and a half off +3 armor. Double Colossus production. ByuN trying to expand to the 6 o'clock. Disruptors have hit the field. 4 Liberators at a time, though. Both sides escalating to the very late game units. EMPs land, wash over the Zealots. ByuN actually repairing his medevacs. Achievement unlocked. Disruptor shot clips a couple ghosts. Handful of Marines as well. Meanwhile, the Vikings standing their ground, well, metaphorically, as they chase down the Colossi. Stalkers trying to take them out, but the Colossus may be taken down first. It is. Vikings removed from the field, but more Liberators on the way. Pops a Disruptor as well. The SCV, would you stand still? More Colossi making their way down. Clem still sitting on 6-7 bases. He has a huge amount of economy and economic lead. Going up to 15 gateways. Surprised he doesn't have more robos. No Stargate, no Supreme late game. Eventually, the Liberators become too much. With advanced ballistics and a critical mass, the Liberators are the ultimate endgame, the majority of the time. But the Dark Templar working their way in. I believe he has DT Blink as well. The Shadow Stride is available. Cuts through. Scans, but Clem blinks away. Clem now expanding to the bottom right corner. That Nexus that was a little off center. Mildly inefficient. About 10% less potential mining with the same amount of probes. Devastating. But Clem keeping the pressure on. He may have lost 6,000 more resources, but he's mined 5,000 more minerals. It's not exactly sustainable, but if he keeps ByuN from getting any more bases past this, he may just be able to grind him down with sheer attrition. 4 Colossi. Only 2 Vikings to match them. Liberators are quite good, but not as ideal as Vikings for directly dealing with the Colossi. Stalkers blink forward, taking out the Liberators. Viking hits the deck, but Clem overruns the token defenses here. Stalkers blink back, ByuN optimistically building 2 command centers right in the location where he was just attacked. Meanwhile, Colossi, the natural predator of refineries. EMPs washing over, snipes out the Templar as well, but softens up a whole lot of the Stalkers. Meanwhile, Clem up to the north side. DT's in front, forces out a scan. It's just Marauders here, though, and the gateway units are running them down. The bunker was maintained throughout this. DT still slicing, eviscerating several Marauders. Colossi on top of the planetary fortress, and ByuN is starting to crumble under Clem's multitasking his Protoss. He's just got too much across the board right now. Another dozen Zealots and 3 Stalkers being warped in. ByuN down to 52 SCVs. Colossi barely scratching the paint on the planetary, but they are requiring the constant repair. Comes back in the left. The push and pull here. EMPs his own orbital, EMPs everything else, but the medevacs are out of energy, so they wander into the Stalkers, and ByuN is down to 165 supply, and maybe a few command centers too many is costing him now. He's got the semi-gold base, which the rocks were taken down at some point and crushed the blue minerals, leaving just a few mineral patches to work with, but that's better than nothing. Another ghost might be targeted down, moves over to the side, snipes off a Liberator, picks off a second. Marauders being cut up by the charge lots, and the overlapping Venn diagram of freedom is too much for the Frenchman to deal with at the moment. But 4 Colossi and a Disruptor. ByuN kind of torn on which starport units to replace. That is how you limit a Terran. Of course, Clem knows better than anyone. But keeping that starport unit down, both the Liberators, both and all the Liberators, the Vikings, and the medevacs, forces ByuN to pick. He only has 2 starports. It might be worth investing in a 3rd or a 4th at this stage, as it isn't so much the Marines and Marauders, it's their support system that's required. And he just simply doesn't have enough as Clem leaning back onto the left side, burninating through the countryside with the Colossi. Over on the right as well, Disruptor shot hits the SCVs, and ByuN struggling to keep up now. Clem continues leaning on that superior economy. He's adding 2 more gateways, going up to 17. Colossi on the left and right, and ByuN without enough to deal with either of these armies directly. Clem is mining from both corners right now. 83 to 63 workers, which means ByuN's army supply is massive, but Clem is replenishing his more limited supply much more quickly. The Marauders spread out, knocked down a Colossus. Another fight, though, incinerating the Bio army. A lot of the gateway units are taken down. ByuN knows there's a base in the bottom right corner, but he hasn't had the opportunity to put together an army and deal with it. Clem is simply too fast and arguably too furious. 2 disruptors at a time. 4 more liberators coming out for ByuN. Clem warps in a cinematic of stalkers. He now has 17 gateways. He's only really put cannons in this bottom right corner, a few in the top left, only the outlying bases. The rest is pretty much is relying on units to defend. The liberator count up to 11. And at what point is a Stargate required? How many liberators are needed? You build too many and you can't really protect the rest of your ground army. You build too few and the disruptors and colossi and really everything else just starts to grind you down even more effectively. But stuck in between both his command centers, but Clem in position, has a couple disruptors loaded up. Another storm. He's got a whole smorgasbord of splash damage across each of these armies. Storms wades right through it. Another disruptor will be popped. Concussive shells holds it down. The first upgrade he got and still relying on it. Remember, this started with proxy marauders 20 minutes ago. Dodges a few, but some of the ghosts are left out of the medevacs. Meanwhile, the Olympic rings of liberation are enough to hold on the left side. Clem rebuilding his army with the pylons and rallying down the colossi. ByuN is maxed out yet again. Under siege. Clem has lost 8,000 more resources, but again mining from 2 more bases. Charge lots cutting through the surface area is good on the marauders. And the marauders are not so good for it. Meanwhile, picking off more and more Vikings, more and more medevacs. Disruptor shot around the corner. 4 more SCVs. Obliterate. He's killed 13 liberators, 19 Vikings, 5 medevacs, 67 marauders throughout this. It's only cost 200 zealots, 8 colossi, and a whole lot of everything else. DTs. Blake on top. He blinks to block the repair and slices through the planetary fortress. Clem draws him forward and then blinks in and stabs him or slices through. In fact, I used to really like the scythe DTs, but now I've kind of come around. I really like the dagger DTs. One of the only units with different sorts of look and animation, despite the exact same functionality. Anyways, argue it in the comments. Like and subscribe. Colossi dropping back as ByuN needs to do something soon. Economically, he's being crushed, but the efficiency of the Terran units cannot be contested. Clem is more than willing. Some of you may die, but that is a risk that Clem is more than willing to take. Colossi still. More Vikings. Plus 2-1 on the mech upgrades. There haven't been upgrades in a while. A Stargate. Finally, Clem admitting that if he were to be at a disadvantage here, it's just the sheer amount of starport units on the field. 9 Liberators, 5 Vikings, 8 medevacs. Tempest would certainly be helpful if we get into a more stalemate scenario, but he knows ByuN's looking the other way, so he takes an opportunity to jump the Liberators in the midfield. Knocks out a couple more. Clem working his way around the corner. Burning the Marauders as they come close. DTs come back in. Ooh. Liberator has something to say about that. ByuN has locked down some of these bases. The Liberator re-sieged, and Clem used that opportunity in order to get a couple more kills. Here comes Clem again. Vikings knock down 1. Disruptor shot cores out a few ghosts. Another Colossi joining up with the army as 1 is taken down. Stalkers get behind the Liberator. Open up an opportunity. The army's dragged down, though, which means Clem might be able to move forward. He does immediately. Realizing that some of the bio is out of position. Clem's full army, still 116 to 146 supply. He's done such a good job of limiting the SCV count that ByuN's army is still a lot to contend with. But now Clem has mined 13,000 more minerals and about the same amount of gas. He has more in the bank. He's been mining, and now he's expanded to the 9 o'clock base. Not only the corners, but the sides as well. This is unsustainable for ByuN. He cannot break out of his base. Clem is just choking him right now. ByuN is somehow still maxed out, but he has nothing in the bank. Whereas Clem has 2,600, 1,200. He's had the income lead for over 10 minutes. 2,500 more resources per minute now. Another engagement. Storms hit pretty much every single Viking, softening him up. Still 3 Colossi, plus 3 shields in production. Stalkers blink over to the side. Another disruptor shot, big hit. DT forces scan. Another army coming down. He's trying to cross this, but the disruptors, that one gets targeted. Meanwhile, EMP lands. ByuN smells blood in the water. There's no water here, and I'm not sure Protoss bleed, but the metaphor holds. Trying to chase down the army, but the moment ByuN crosses that halfway mark, Clem undercuts him yet again. Gonna take out another command center, or just try to draw the army into position. Knocks out another Liberator, taking his pick of the Vikings as well. Sensor tower, and another army blinking in. The siege tank. The storm's in position. Softens it all up. EMP lands. ByuN. The bio ball is throwing its weight around, but it's not as quick as it used to be. 15 more zealots warped in. 2 more disruptors in production as Clem's onslaught shows no signs of stopping. But ByuN, his production has slowed to a trickle. His command centers are burning. His supply is dipping. And the G's are in the chat. Clem just smothers ByuN. A near half-hour game. It started with Proxy Marauder, and on paper, it was relatively close. But ByuN was always one bad fight away from disaster, while Clem took pretty much literally the entire rest of the map. At the end of the game, he had something like 9 Nexi to ByuN, who was struggling to mine from really any bases. Wow. Huh. What a masterclass from Clem. I mean, who better to know how to beat the Terrans? And since we don't currently have the technology for Clem to face off against the best Terran himself, arguably the second or third best Protoss in the world, I feel like there are some things Clem does better that MaxPax doesn't do. And clearly, Clem's Terran is inspired from MaxPax in the many, many thousands of times they've played together. ByuN is currently right around tied for the third best Terran, behind Clem and Maru, and tied with Cure. For reference, in case you want to use that in any sort of arguments. And with that said, think of your next one as we get into game number 2 on Ultra Love. I'm not making it look easy, but I do love how you can... He's just applying the same sort of mechanics he would with Terran with Protoss. He's making it work. The kind of multi-pronged battle groups where you just have a dangerous... Because it's not just zealots. So many players, it's just a matter of speed. So many players will do charge lot run-bys. That's a normal thing. A DT backstab. But Clem has stalkers and colossi and disruptors and charge lots with those armies. And that sort of diverse unit composition is a lot harder to deal with than a bunch of dudes with laser swords. When the stalkers are picking off the liberators, the DT's forcing detection, and the colossi, you know, existing. That was some inspired Protoss play. Honestly, some of the best Protoss versus... Like, watching Hero is not like watching a perfect symphony of Protoss, all right? It's like watching a sumo wrestling match or a bar fight. It can be very entertaining and dangerous and unpredictable, but not exactly... It doesn't look incredibly well practiced or planned or coordinated. Meanwhile here, Clem's Symphony of Protoss, with all the pieces coming together, a very intuitive sort of Protoss as well. Like, it wasn't surprising what he was doing. It looked like ByuN knew exactly what was going to happen. He just couldn't stop it, right? Also, Clem's dramatic response to the proxy marauder. That was... I wasn't sure, because almost every time I see Protosses try to hold the Nexus. Like, they'll build multiple shield batteries, they'll pull probes, but it's the fact you have to try to hold on the low ground. It's just too much. Like, the margin for error is sometimes non-existent. You just don't have enough time to put things together. So Clem, by making the choice to cut out the Nexus, and it could have cost him too. Like, if he didn't keep the pressure on ByuN. In fact, there were many moments where it looked like ByuN would just pull away with the economy. He had 3 command centers, he had the bio army, and the storms did not do incredible. But they forced out such a response that Clem was able to catch up economically, and then far surpass ByuN. Somehow Clem made it look more like a Zerg match there against Terran than Protoss. So. And if there was ever an argument for Clem being, it's, by any metric, it's hard to beat Serral as the greatest player of all time. Okay. But Serral has been a committed Zerg player through his entire career. Clem is our first true biracial player. Choosing, as of the last 6 months or so, pretty much since the balance patch, which changed out shield battery overcharge for energy recharge. I don't know if that was related. Not just as a gimmick, but instead, predictably, as a strategy, play Protoss against Terran. We have yet to have the scenario where somebody, like, say, I don't know, picks... I don't know what you'd pick. I don't think a Terran player is going to switch to Zerg to try to beat Protoss in this economy. But, I'm trying to think of this scenario. Maybe Protoss versus Protoss, but we haven't yet found someone else to match him and create this sort of tournament rule-breaking situation. Hellion drop, just 2 Hellions are shooed away by the Stalkers. That was, well, almost the least he could do to actually put some pressure on. The Hellions will be spotted right there. Is there anything else to back this up? Doesn't look like it. The Hellions looking for the 3rd, but a Templar Archives rush. Wow. Clem, he sees the Raven. Honestly, it might just be to shut down the Raven. Feedback. Quite a threat. He's up against what is likely to be... Now, the only question is, does ByuN pull the boys? Alright. It's going to be a siege tank timing. Raven in support. Blink is done. But, well... I mean, he's starting Stim in +1. Clem starts Storm, as well as +1 ground weapons. Which... That's a very... And he's picking off the Marines one after another. God. When he's on point, like, doesn't matter what he's playing. When Clem is on fire, it's like the sun. It's hard to look at. It just looks unfair. He hasn't won this game by any means, but he's keeping ByuN busy with multi-pronged Blink Stalkers. He's boxed out any sort of early It was just the Hellions, but now we'll see how he handles the siege tank push. So far, immaculate Blink Stalker micro. The Raven trying to sneak into the main. May actually find something. There is a shield battery, which negates the auto turret entirely. Yep. Just does absolutely nothing. Raven heads on out. Charge is done. Storm is completed. ByuN is... Yeah, it is very dangerous to be out here now. If you can't get the siege tank pushed directly across the map, you do not want to stick around. Because all those extra... That next set of Protoss upgrades is finishing. The charge. In this case, Storm. Usually it's more like Colossi, but... The fact that Clem is opting for Storm 2 games in a row is kind of crazy to me. It's definitely the less common choice by most players. Eventually, Colossi. Well, it just depends on which direction you want to go, but eventually you want both sides of that splash damage. The Raven in position will help spot, but Clem micros the Observer away before... Oh my. And he's... What a save! Wow. Clem saved the Observer. Spotting the Raven before the Raven spotted the Observer, which isn't even how that works. It's just a matter of speed. Is there a Warp Prism? Yes, with Templar inside. Does ByuN know that? He's about to. The storms are cataclysmic. He just melts through a whole bunch of the bio and a whole lot of the tanks. And ByuN on paper has more army supply, but right now those margins are paper thin, and half the army is at half HP. Charge lots in position. Bio army coming up. Clem has 10 more workers. He's working on a 4th base, whereas ByuN is on 2. Charge lots will cut off some of the reinforcements. That storm drop, though, an existential threat to the ground army. The charge lots in the base. He will be able to clean them up, but this is a lot more time before any reinforcements come across the map. Time that ByuN is using, or Clem, sorry, is using to continue warping in. The tanks aren't sieged, giving plenty of opportunity to land the storms. He takes out the tanks with ease. The Raven barely involved and nevermore. The storms are just washing ByuN out of this game. Wow. Reinforcements are coming up. And the medevacs, ByuN. More one-sided than a Mobius strip here as ByuN just gets stormed out. No long-term back and forth. Clem just slaps down the attack and claims victory with ease. That ByuN, that wasn't even half-assed. That was 1/4-assed siege tank push. He had to know from those first Blink Stalkers that the chances of it being successful were less than high. But he committed anyways. It's hard once you've already committed to the siege tanks to not do that sort of timing, because otherwise you're just going to sit back and they're eventually going to run you over anyways. But Clem just... He knew obviously he knows exactly what he's dealing. But... Wow. Match point for Clem. The Protoss. It is... Well, Game 3's on Pylon, which feels a little Protoss favored to me, but... Clem in the top left. ByuN in the bottom right. This match from Pigsty Festival 6. Thank you again to Pig for putting on so many of these incredible tournaments. I very much enjoy. And Jimmy's telling me it's not actually from Pigs. Well, thank you to Pig. It's from Wardy's May? Wardy's Championship. Okay. Thank you to Wardy. Just as much, if not more. Depends on the day. For putting on so many amazing... Literally, without these sort of community tournaments, we literally... Well, I literally couldn't do this. So, hopefully, you appreciate them. If you haven't yet checked it out, you can find the link in the description. Jimmy put the right one. Now, forgive me, as these two play in pretty much anything that there is a sign-up for. I feel like if there was a $50 tournament for your bar mitzvah or something, then Clem and Max Pax would somehow show up and fight a 12-minute best-of-5 in the finals. And ByuN would also be there, but probably wouldn't make it past him. Sorry, ByuN. That feels like the online... And Hero would be there. He would have a whole bunch of drinks first, and then somehow win convincingly. And that is the online tournament scene in StarCraft 2 in a nutshell at the moment. It is Clem, MaxPax, and Hero as the triumvirate, who are in the finals of somewhere between 50 and 75% of tournaments, if at least 2 of them participate. And then the other, like, let's say 1/3 is like ByuN, Shin, Solar, but I would go so far as to say a majority of tournament finals when you have at least 2 of Clem, MaxPax, and Hero. Or Clem, MaxPax, or Hero. And it really comes down to whoever won in the semifinals and whoever got matched up. What the finals are. I'm feeling a little spicy, okay? I'm feeling like we may actually put a mirror matchup on the channel soon. All right. See, the only reason we're watching Clem versus ByuN right now is because Clem is Protoss, even though you might have been clickbaited in thinking it was something different. But here we are. You made it this far. Thank you. Like and subscribe. The reason you don't see mirror matchups very often is because pretty much unless it's Serral eviscerating someone in CVC, people don't watch. YouTube doesn't show it. A bit of both. It's just not as much variety. I think it doesn't look as interesting on its face, especially for those who don't play as regularly, so almost all of you. And while it can be super interesting, it is more technical. And a lot of the time, it just feels like the same match back and forth. A lot of the time, it doesn't, but most people don't watch far enough to realize that. What is this, ByuN? He has concussive, but that's Guardian Shield, and the Sentry with its Tickle Beam, not nearly as vulnerable, though it can be concussed as well. I'm not sure how that works. Yeah, it slows the Sentry down, but the Sentry makes all the difference. 2 Marauders beat 2 Stalkers, somewhat annoyingly, but the Guardian Shield and the Sentry itself, more than enough to ward away. ByuN trying the half-hearted Marauder timing, but it just doesn't pan out. Hallucinated Phoenix. Does he spot? He spots the factory timing. And, well, also everything else. He spots all 3 racks, the engineering bay, and the factory. And also why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. But, though, it confuses him slightly because Protoss don't have mouths. Templar Archives. Wow. Another incredibly quick archives, which will likely be completed with Storm before the medevacs can come across the map. ByuN opting for the Bio-Ball place. And this is countered by the level of commitment. Like, you have to get Storm very quickly. But you can have it before the medevacs. If he went for... like, was waiting to get charge or something before getting Templar, it would not happen. Alright? He simply wouldn't have enough. Getting the 3rd Nexus, not particularly early. Making... Yeah, important to point out that Clem was on 2 bases getting all this tech. Getting Immortals, getting Storm, only now adding on the Nexus after confirming exactly what he's dealing with. But I fear the Psionic Storm should be operational by the time the Terran army with medevacs arrive. The bunker being targeted down. Pulling the SCVs off the line. Just trying to keep them busy. There, the medevacs on the way. Storm, 1/3 of the way done. It will... Did he just kill a Marine with a probe? Not even... What? Yes. There had to be something else happening there, right? You don't just simply kill a Marine with a probe. Maybe Clem's probes, alright? He figured out that if you spam probes at 1,000 APM, they actually attack faster. It's just no Protoss has ever been fast enough to do it before. Am I right, my Terran friends? Trick question. Terrans don't have friends. Observer spots the army on the way out. There's a warp prism on the way and storm nearly completed. The bio ball's coming together. But again, that storm will be done. Literally 3 or 4 seconds before ByuN hits the other side of the map. Yeah, just as he's coming up the ramp, the Templar will be spotted, but the other Templar were not, and the storm blindsides him. And the units that aren't taken out immediately are routed back across the map. He tries to get to the high ground, but there's more storms where that came from. Hurricane season is rolling in. And ByuN, well, the individual units here struggling to deal with it. Knocks out another Stalker, trying to skirt the edges of the storm. A single, yeah, he might even try to save the Zealot. He does, he easily jukes out of it with the Ghetto Blink from the Prism. But Clem up 10 supply already. Another Widow Mine. Blinks over to the side, saves him with the Prism. Observer spots this. That will give it away to ByuN, but does he need to care? Eats a decent-sized Widow Mine hit, softens things up. More storms. Merges Archons with the low-energy Templar and saves the ones with plenty for storm. And Clem just putting on a clinic right now. He's up 20 supply. He's got 15 more workers. The storms are pushing ByuN all the way back to his base. The checkerboard of Widow Mines might be enough to hold for now. But Clem has a 4th Nexus on the way. ByuN hasn't finished his 3rd command center. 2 Archons will overwhelmingly power through the main base and just annihilate multiple SCVs. Slow down production even more while Clem continues to reinforce the front line. ByuN picks up. But guess what? Clem's already here. Where are you going, ByuN? He's dropping out. He was trying to drop towards the main, but Clem doesn't back off. He just backs out for a moment. Reinforces. And is coming in for another round. Storm softening up more of the Widow Mines. Another one dragged out. The Zealot sacrifice not in vain. Continuing forward. One more Widow Mine at the front. Fires off. Archons. Templar. Enough for several storms ready. The Warp Prism phases away. Stalkers intercept the Vikings. Knock out one. He even tried to minimize the overkill and start on the 2nd Viking. God. Oh, sweet Tassadar. What are we going to do if the best Protoss player is a Terran? Charge lots diving in. The supply gap is massive. The storms washing over the medevacs, hitting the mineral line. 10 more SCVs dead. ByuN fighting with everything he has. Drops half a dozen mules. But I don't think everything he has is going to be good enough. He never restarted the 3rd command center. And now I think we're just watching a death animation. A storm again! Melts through the Marauders. Ghosts! Obliterated. And Clem, with a clean sweep, washes ByuN from the field with some of the most dominant Protoss play, beating one of the best Terrans in the world and making it look not easy, but convincing. But is it Protoss or is it Clem? Which brings us to our anti-spoiler game of Clem against Max Pax in the same tournament. Clem is Terran. All right. Was it a fluke? Is it ByuN not knowing how to play Terran? Or is it a matter of execution? I think having a direct basis for comparison. Now, not everyone will make it this far before complaining about X, Y, or Z. But, for those who did, thank you for watching. Thank you again to Wardy. And let's get a basis for what exactly our complaint should be. The game will be on Ultra Love. Gonna take a bit of an adjustment now, but in the top right in the blue, we have Max Packs, and the Terran in the red. It's Clem. Wow. Yeah. Like, some days, I think it is a symptom of playing so many tournaments. Like, Hero is all over the place, but since we expect Hero to play like a crazy person, it doesn't stand out as much. Whereas Clem, we expect perfection. Okay? Almost boringly perfect. Like, he's so predictably on point that it feels like the match itself is predictable. And that makes for a less entertaining experience, I think. Unfortunately. But there are days, and then the flip side of that is when things go slightly sideways and he's not 100% perfect. People are like, oh my, washed up, rage quit. Like, he set such a high standard that even living up to his own standard is ridiculous. I do think Clem is probably the most talented player in the game. Like, from an athletic perspective. And that, it sounds a little weird, but would you call playing sometimes 8 hours a day at 400, 500 APM not athletic? I don't think Clem is thought of as a sedentary guy as well. All right. 100 pounds soaking wet, including the hair, which is just getting longer by the day. Very French. I don't know if any of those facts are true. Well, besides the French part and the hair. So mostly the 100 pounds part. But not the big... Honestly, most of the pro gamers, besides like Dark and Showtime. This is a weird comment. What about Max Specs? All right. For all we know, Max Specs could be your mother. And what does that say about her? Hopefully nice and complimentary things. Who should call? Shade comes in. Now we're just going to spend our time comparing and contrasting Clem's TVP and Max Specs' PVT with the previous matchup. Interestingly, a Reaper. No Marauders to start. Reaper gets hunted down. Does not get any probe kills. So already a split. Max Specs rushing to blank. Whereas Clem, Reaper, into... Is this going to be Widowmine Drone? No. Tech Lab on the way. Interesting. But not Marauders. Key part here. Key point. Ugh. Jimmy, edit that out. I gotta remember how words do. Yeah. Or do not. There is no try. You shut up. You can even see it on the mini-map. Literally setting up a line to box out the Blink Stalkers, the Bulwark in the main, to funnel them into potential siege tanks. A strategy is popularized, and it's a bit of an odd scenario because you can't really stop. It's a situation where it's better to bend than break with Blink Stalkers. Because if you try to box them out entirely, if you try to actually shut them down, there's going to be weak points. Very simply, they will have too many Blink Stalkers, and you're going to be spread too thin. But if you kind of minimize the area they can be effective, kind of keep them at arm's length or siege tank's length, it makes it harder for the Stalkers to really find meaningful damage. So it's favoring getting some defense as opposed to potentially having none in key locations. Yeah, you see, that siege tank just far enough back. Gonna hit almost the very edge there. Yeah, I was wondering, like, should be a little closer, right? He wants to... Anything that blinks in should be hit by the tank. But the tank should be the maximum range away. Seems simple, but it's actually a relatively recent development in TVP. Raven, much like ByuN. And unlike ByuN, there's no shield battery to deal with it. He's gonna... Doesn't actually target the probes. Only gets one. The Hellion spots the third base. Observer back at home. The bulwark will be maintained as the line of barracks, the literal production line here. He spotted the observer. Meanwhile, yeah, goes to the wrong side. Is there a scan? 2 seconds. Well, this is awkward. The Blink Stalker's right there. Does he have enough time? The micro, and he pops it! And that makes it that much easier to deal with these Stalkers. Siege tank again. Lined up, so as soon as he gets into high ground range... Will he blink? Wow, that's a bold move. Comes in, kills... That SCV, that's the one! Gets it, and blinks out. Takes a lot of damage on one Stalker. Triple threat on the way. Stim, combat shield, and +1 infantry weapons in production for Clem. Robo Bay. On the way, Max Pac's opting for the Colossus first. I guess there's a small chance of disruptors, but let's be realistic here. Disruptors are just, it's Clem. So even in the late game, when everything else is happening, disruptors are a major risk with potentially no reward. And in the early game, Clem's just gonna dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge around them with ease. And here comes the siege tank timing. Clem with a third command center and 2 more racks on the way. He's not putting all his eggs in this particular basket, but this is a very dangerous basket. Full of a bunch of dudes with drugs, guns, and a hatred of illegal aliens. No matter what flavor they are. Is it ironic to wonder what Protoss would taste like? Medevacs along the right flank. Single charge lot. 0 charge lots. Widowmine in position to deal with it. Clem looking to intercept the 4th base as it starts. Blink Stalker's out of position to deal with it. Max Pax didn't spot this army moving out. It's gonna cost him the Nexus. Clem moving to shove away these units before he can get outflanked. He spots the main army, scans it. The siege tank's a little late on the siege up, though. Colossus coming up. Force field's optimistic. Blast through another set. Clem just dodges the force field by picking up. Leaves a few Marines behind. Charge lots in the 3rd base. Will be cleaned up by the reinforcements. Big drop in the main. Knocks out 1 of the medevacs, but 3 unload their full payloads. And Max Pax, does he have a recall? Not enough energy on the main base. The Colossus on the Reaper Cliff. No, it's a disaster. Picks up again. A lot of the Marauders are going to be left behind. Blink Stalkers knock out another round, and Clem kind of flounders the escape. And Max Pax goes up 15 supply. Clem. It looked like he managed to turn a difficult situation into an advantage, but it all gets turned around. The evacuation is haphazard. The Blink Stalkers are target fired well, and now Clem is pushed back to his 3rd base. He's got 1-1 against his +1. Dodges a Widowmine hit. Another Colossus comes up. Couple Vikings on the field. A couple more Widowmine. Sacrifices the charge lots on them. There's 1 more on the high ground. Clem. Max Pax thinking about the natural here. Retargets the Widowmine onto the sentry. Oh, that little bit of Widowmine micro. It ain't much, but it's honest, well, work. He retargeted the Widowmine, slams the sentry, softens up the rest, gets a ton of splash damage across the board. And I think that tiny move, almost imperceptible, though less so than it was like a year ago before the indicator was added, may have kept him going. He's actually targeting the rocks a little bit late, trying to catch Max Pax between a rock and a hard place, and that will slow down the attack a bit. MaxPax, does he just grind through, or does he let Clem have his stopgap here? Looks like he does. Dark Shrine on the way. Ground weapons level 2. Now completed. He's up to the high ground and... oh, Guardian Shield. Vikings helping out a lot. Emotional support field thrown out. Raven just trundles into the fight, taken down by the Stalkers. Its watch is now ended. Meanwhile, though, the Blink Stalkers trading back around. MaxPax up 30 supply. Continuing to wield that economy. You can see how Clem gets inspired. Clem, working on 2-2 upgrades. He's floated the factory away, not even bothering with any more factory units, using it as a half-hearted scout. Charge lots eviscerating the reinforcements. MaxPax stuck in between these bases, making it very difficult for Clem to bring his full army together. MaxPax at 78 workers to 61. But Clem is holding on. He's got enough army supply to be dangerous. But much like ByuN, he's all bottled up in his base while MaxPax is expanding across the map. MaxPax just has to be careful not to overextend. The Colossi. A bit of a dangerous position. The charge lots. DT's wandering into the natural. Vikings over the top. Force field's a little bit late. Vikings getting more damage done. DT's intercepted. Charge lots on top of the bunker. Main army fighting. Force field's helping, but I don't think they're helping enough. Ship weapons level 1 on the way. The Vikings will knock down the Colossus. There it goes. And the Bio army is chasing down the rest. MaxPax is slicing through the SCVs, but his gateway units pale in comparison to the DPS potential of this Bio Ball, even in autumn colors. Can anything even touch it? The charge lots run up. We'll cut through a few Marines and Marauders, but there's a couple dozen more where that came from. Vikings hit the deck. Another warp in of Zealots. Target fires the Nexus. And MaxPax just lets it go. Clem immediately scans for an alternative 4th base. But just like that, Clem has turned the supply gap around. He's up 12, and I think MaxPax overcommitted to the counterattack. He didn't maintain enough army supply to bully the army off the field. He committed so much to the charge lot counter, the DTs as well, that Clem realized an opportunity. And, well, it's still 82 to 48 workers. MaxPax has 10 gateways. He's got 2 robos. He can rebuild quickly. But Clem has 2-2 upgrades now on that Bio army. He's turned a lot of this around. But the economic momentum for MaxPax is maintained, just not as greatly as before. Charge lots coming in again. Clem building 4 SCVs at a time. Not enough to keep up. Finally, the rocks will be taken down. Marines and Marauders might be able to get a few extra pickups. Sentries with enough energy to help out. Clem helps him out with this. Stalkers blink back, and now running across the bridge. Force fields will zone out. He doesn't have another one, I don't think. Couple seconds off. Clem recognizes it. Fighting over the bridges. Who will break first? Clem picks up. There's no observer to spot. MaxPax is moving forward. Clem, setting up a flank with the Medivacs, actually manages to intercept the charge lots. MaxPax not anticipating an army there at this time. Instead, moves around looking for the 6 o'clock base. There's a small Bio army in place, but that garrison will not be nearly enough to deal with the full brunt of MaxPax's army. Colossi in play. Ghosts have hit the field. EMP washed out. Another Bio ball in place. Charge lot. Cutting through some more SCVs, but MaxPax, again, has retaken the supply. He has 84 to 52 workers, and he's building more probes. He's actually got a bit of a problem right now, in that his army supply cannot compete with Clem's because of it. Plus 3-3 is on the way for Clem. That'll be a decisive moment where he has the maximum upgrade advantage. Here come 4 Colossi, though. 4 Vikings to challenge them. A whole lot of Marauders as well. EMP Disruptor on the field. Another Colossus is taken down. Charge lots cutting through even more of the SCVs. Max Packs slipping into the third base. The charge lot's chased down by a bio ball, but a lot of the army is committed to the other side. Does Max Packs have enough to deal with this? Disruptor shot pushes back the most dangerous force field. He's got another one. Reinforcing charge lots on the way. Disruptor is in a precarious position. Another Colossus down, and Max Packs is keeping his powder maybe a bit too dry now. Clem eats a hit. Another shot around the corner. Clips a ghost, but the bio ball is closing in. The force fields are optimistic at best, and Max Packs is fully routed. Another Ruptor parts the Red Sea, picks up into the medevacs. There's 13 medevacs right now. Marauders, big hit. Charge lots coming through. 3-2 versus 3-1, but another armor upgrade is about to complete for Max Packs. More Disruptors on the way. Triple drop loaded up to the right flank. Will drop over the top. Does he spot? Yes, he sees the Dark Templar. He sees the Shimmer and will take it out as well. +3 armor is about to complete for Clem. Max Packs chasing down the army. Only 10 gates, which actually seems a bit low considering his economy. He's maintained an economic advantage, but not decisively so. Huge recall now. A bit of a gamble. Disruptor shot thrown out. Dangerous to Zealots and Marines alike. Stalkers are chasing this down. Clem pushing forward. The Vikings over the top. Knock out a Colossus. Bio ball back up to the high ground. The medevacs overhead desperately asking the Marines and Marauders to stop stimming. But Clem says he doesn't want to stop winning. Stimming forward yet again. He actually finds the Nexus over to the right side. Possibly not even realizing it was there. But we'll take it out now. The pylon can be taken down easily. The probes will be hunted. And in the top left corner, Clem's gonna hit him again. 15 probes dead and counting. And just like that, the worker lead. He's had 69 probes and dropping. Getting less and less nice as time goes on. More Stalkers and Zealots in the main. Meanwhile, Ghosts. Obviously no recall. Max Packs incinerating the front line. Force fields lock out much of the rest. Most of the medevacs are with this. The drop on the right flank. Clem keeping the pressure on across the board. And Max Packs, he's taking good fights. He's winning battles. But it feels like the war is tilting back towards Clem. Especially with that massive hit on the economy. He knocked out the Nexus in the top left and he's killed 30 probes in the last minute. The medevacs could be intercepted. There's not that many Stalkers here to deal with it though. 13 medevacs, 3 Vikings, building 2 more. 4 Colossi to contest. The bio ball battling in the center of the map. The Stalkers trading fire. The Colossi with literal fire. The Lancers fully extended. They both think they got a shot in this fight. It's unclear who's right about it. Just arcs out the Marauders. Gonna knock out a Colossus. Another one. Almost taken down immediately. Max Packs driven back yet again. He doesn't have the economy to rebuild nearly as efficiently as before either. Clem has held on. He's moved his main command center up to the 9 o'clock position now. Has not found that... Oh, the bravest sentry! But bravery and foolishness are 2 sides of a very similar coin. Another army. Recall is available. The probe's on the run. Max Packs feels obligated to go for something of a base trade. There's 20-30 supply committed from Clem on Max Packs' side of the map. He may have the critical mass to break through. The Vikings knock out 1 Colossus. Disruptors in position. Fires off a shot. Hits nothing. Another Disruptor targeted down. The bio ball grinding through and Clem. Around the corner, another force field, another disappointment. Clem knocking out the Colossi. Only 1 remains. GGG. As Max Packs taps out and Clem proving his command over the Protoss and the Terran. Though, you could see the clear inspiration. Max Packs' play with the multi-pronged style, he skipped the Templar. Now he's up against Clem's micro. So, that may be factoring in dramatically. And for many minutes there, I think Max Packs had the advantage. But Clem, too hot to handle. Ugh. The kid's too good. Hopefully you enjoyed this demonstration of both sides of Protoss versus Terran. And really a demonstration of Clem at his best. As some of Clem, the world champion. Those are some of the best games I've seen from him on both sides of the story. I hope it made your day a little bit better. Thank you to Wardy. Thank you for watching. And if you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free. At least for now. So, thank you to our Mule Tier patrons for bringing in the extra minerals. Big Jiggy, Devin, Dor, Kate, Mario, Random Guy, and Soup. And everyone, glad you still enjoy. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.